Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. So welcome back to my channel after a long time. So in this video, I'm announcing a series of playlist, a series of video that is coming up every day on this channel. So basically the series is 100 days of AWS. So as the name itself says, in this series, we are going to learn AWS for 100 days. Right? So you can find all the notes on my GitHub repository. So it will include the handwritten notes. I'm going to include this in the description. The link for the GitHub repository will be provided in the description box below. So you can also start referring this one. For getting started, so I am using one of the course provided by Adrian Cantrell. So this course is very neatly organized. So I am referring that course to prepare myself. So the end goal of this series would be to get certified on AWS Solutions Architect, the new examination that is coming up, that is SAA 03, right? So I'm aiming to clear that examination, and I also want to learn alongside with you, right? So in today's topic, so we are going to cover these things. Okay, so let's get in deep inside this one and start learning about them. Okay, so as I already told, I've signed up for this course and I've made myself a notes, and here is the notes that I've created, so you can find it in the GitHub repository. All right. So if you are also liking to participate in this challenge, you can comment down below how many days are you aiming to uh, dedicate yourself to prepare for this examination, and how much time would you dedicate. So right now I am planning to dedicate 1 hour of my schedule every day to start learning about this one. Right, so you can it depends on you. If you want to increase your time slot, or if you want to just go for 30 minutes, you can do that. Right, so I will upload all my notes in the coming days inside this repository, so you can also refer from here, and it is completely free. All right, so let's get into the day one topics, and let's see what and all we have in these topics covered. All right, so see you in the presentation. Hi everyone, welcome back. So as I already said, this notes is of day one. So where I will be covering about AWS fundamentals, service resiliency, and AWS global infrastructure. Okay. So for all the days notes, I will be providing that as a PDF at the end. So you can also refer my GitHub repository. The for link for the GitHub repository is in the description box below. Okay, so the day one, what I learned is about AWS fundamentals. So basically, everywhere, whatever the course that I have taken so far, they are going to start discussing about AWS global infrastructure in the very beginning. But I did not know that this topic is also there called AWS Public Zone and Private Zone, right? Basically, AWS have categorized into two types. One is public zone and the other one is private zone. Basically, what happens, depending on your networking perspective, they have categorized their services into public and as well as private service. Okay, so if you see the description of public service, so it is something that is accessed using the public endpoints. The example for public service is, we can consider S3 buckets, right? So we will be discussing about these things, about these services individually in the separate video. But for now, understand S3 is one of the public service. Okay. So next is private services. So as the name itself says, something that can be accessed within the VPC, that is virtual private cloud. So they have divided into three things. Okay, let's understand in three different concepts. Okay, so first one is public internet, where your public uh, services are present. For example, Gmail, your YouTube, your Amazon.com, all these things are present on the public internet. You can access them by connecting to your internet service. So we call those as public internet zone. Okay. So next one is AWS Public Zone. Basically, so if you have your network connected to the public internet, you will be able to access the services that are present in AWS Public Zone. For example, S3. For S3, we will be having something called as endpoints, right? So if you have that link with you, you can also access this S3 service if you connect to your internet, right? So you do not need anything. You can directly start accessing S3 if you have the internet, if you configure it in a such a way that it can be accessed via public also, right? So best example is Netflix. Basically, the entire Netflix architecture, the entire Netflix application is hosted on AWS, right? So that is the concept here. So the next one is AWS Private Zone. Here basically all your private services are present. For example, VPC. On top of VPC, we have many applications, right? So we have EC2, services such as EC2. We have load balancer. All this will come as a part of AWS Private Zone. Okay, and even on your on premises can also access this private zone if and only if you have configured in such a way that it can access it, right? For example, there are services like direct connect, VPN. By using those services, you can access your private zone services in your on premises network also, right? So right now, let us take one more example. Let's say your EC2 instance that is present in private network or private zone wants to connect to your internet to download some updates or something. Okay, so how will you do that? For that, you need to attach something called as internet gateway for your VPC. Only then this AWS EC2 instance can route through your AWS public zone and can access AWS public internet, or it can be any internet. For example, public internet, right? So no, sorry, AWS public zone is different and public internet is different. So if this EC2 instance wants to speak or wants to communicate with the public internet, it will the network passes via your AWS public zone and then it can speak to your public internet, right? So this is there. So for that to happen, you need to add something called as internet gateway. That is the second point here. If you see, if internet gateway is configured, the private resources can reach the public internet via AWS public zones, and they can also reach the services in AWS public zones. Okay, so that is the high level overview on what is public zone, what is private zone. Okay, so hope you understood this in a detailed way, right? So next, let's move forward and discuss about AWS Global Infrastructure. I know that you might be knowing this one. You might be knowing what is AWS region, what is AWS, availability zones and all. But let us discuss in detail about them. Okay. So the first one is AWS region. If you see the description here, it is an area over the world which they have selected, and inside this region the AWS full infrastructure is present. So they have divided the entire world into regions, and they have configured, they have deployed all the AWS infrastructure inside that region. This means your computing services like EC2, storage like S3, databases like DynamoDB, everything will be part of this AWS region. This is the basic infrastructure for your AWS. No, every year, every now and then, AWS will keep on adding the regions. So you need to take a look into it, how many regions are currently present. If you know what is the current region count, comment down below saying put your put the current year and the month, and comment how many regions are present currently. Okay, so the next one is AWS Edge Location. Okay, so these are smaller compared to your AWS region. Why do we have AWS Edge Location is very important. AWS, it is very difficult to spin up AWS region because you need to install all the infrastructure and it takes too much time, right? So to avoid that, what they have done is they have come up with a concept called AWS Edge Location. Inside AWS Edge Location, they will have services like content distribution service, for example, CDN, right? Content Delivery Network, or it acts just like your cache memory. It will reduce your latency. Okay, so as I have knowledge on cloud, I am speaking about that. But if you do not know what is content distribution, just go and Google for CDN, right? So you will understand that, right? So the next one is they have also added some of the edge computing capabilities inside this AWS edge locations. Okay, so you can consider that these are the local distribution points, right? So for example, Netflix cannot add all their movies or their series into all the regions, right? Instead, what they can do, they can host or they can upload all the video files into one region and cache them into all the other regions. To do so, we need to make use of AWS edge locations. Okay, so I hope AWS region and AWS edge locations are clear. Now, to speak about AWS region, why do we need AWS region, right? So answer is three. 3 points are there. First one is geographic separation. So let's say if you do not go with AWS region, let's say you are in based out in India and you also have other region, AWS US region. So what happened due to some issues, the AWS US region is entirely down, or there is some disasters. We have come across the war and all, right? Ukraine war and all. In the same way, there can be another war in those region in the you know Western countries. So that entire region will go down. In that situation, to continue operating, we have the geographic separation. So in that situation, we have multiple other regions located in the different geographical area. So those regions will continue operating for us. So they will provide services for that. That is one reason, right? So the next one is geopolitical separation, right? So you might ask, what is geopolitical separation? So right now we have a concept called, uh, uh, for example, people who upload data in the European countries, the data should not leave to other countries or other regions, right? So they are very strict about the data that they store. So for that situation, we need governance, right? So we have some governance bodies who are looking after such areas. Like we have HIPAA, we have GDPR. Like those things are also contributing to this, right? So governance and compliance for that region, or for that reason also we are having AWS region. So the next one is location control. For example, let's say your application is your customer base is located in India, and your application is in US. So to connect to the US region, it will take time, right? So instead, what you can do, you can host your application in India itself, so that the customer will have the less latency, and it also helps in the geopolitical separation and the geographic separation, right? For that three reasons, they have separated AWS into different regions, right? So that is the importance of having AWS regions. Next, let's see what is there inside the region, right? So we have something called as availability zone, which is in short known as AZs. Okay, so basically AZs provide isolated infrastructure inside a region. So it is completely isolated from the other availability zone. So we can have maximum of 6 availability zones inside a region. Okay, so basically AZs are isolated compute, storage, networking, power, and facilities within a region. So for example, if a disaster happens and one AZ goes down, in that situation, the other availability zone will be up and running for you. It will be operating for you without any damage, right? It is just a logical separation. There is no physical separation over there. Okay. It also provides you with a high speed resiliency. Now you might ask, what is resiliency, right? So that is our next topic, service resilience. So we have three different types here also. One is globally resilient, regional resilient, and availability zone resilient. So let us talk one by one. First one is global resilient. That means AWS services that are operating with a global resilient as a service, then with uh, with this option, what happens? These services will have a single database to store the information. For example, IAM is a global service, right? So you will not see, you cannot select a region for creating IAM users or groups, right? So that is a global service. So that means the information that you provide, it is stored in a single database and it will be replicated to multiple regions in that are available by AWS. Right, so that is called as globally resilient. So for globally resilient services to go down, it takes that the entire world should go down. Right, so if IAM service should stop operating, then the entire world should be stop operating. Right, so that is one such example. Right, so those services are called as globally resilient service. Right, so the next one is regionally resilient service. Basically, as the name itself says, it is bound to region, operates in a single region with one set of data per region. For example, if you create an EC2 instance in US East 1, so that EC2 instance will only be there in US East 1. It will not be there in other regions such as India or Australia or something, right? So it will be there in that specific region itself. And if that region goes down, the entire service will go down, right? So that is what we call that as regionally resilient service. The second point you can see, operates as a separate service in each region. Okay, so third point is it generally replicates into availability zones. If the availability zone fails, it will continue to operate. But if the entire region goes down, the service will fail. It will not operate. Okay, so those are regional resilient services. Okay, the third point is AZ resilient, that is availability zone resilient. In here, what happens? Services will run inside a single availability zone. For example, a subnet. Subnet is specific to availability zone. There will be one subnet inside an availability zone. I'm speaking about the default VPC. So the architecture of default VPC is like this. There will be one subnet in one availability zone. So if that availability zone goes down, the entire subnet will goes down, and whatever the services that are built on top of that subnet will also fail, right? So that is the basic idea. So so if the AZ within which the service is running fails, the entire service will fail. So these are availability zone resilient service, right? So that's it for today. So these are the things that I have studied today. So I have also made a notes, and that notes is available in the description box below. So if you are liking this content, please consider subscribing, like the video, share it with your friends, ask them to join this challenge and accept this challenge, and try to get certified and get the better job, right? So that's it for today. Hope you liked it. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey. Thank you.